All right, so I'm going to go quicker through
Rocky
the back
Thomas.
half of this list. But if there's anybody you want to stop on, you're like, that is preposterously low or maybe preposterously high. All right, so we'll start at 25. DeAnthony Thomas from Oregon, Ted Ginn Jr., Dalvin Cook, Denard Robinson, and Corey's buddy, Jadeveon Clowney. All right, moving to the top 20. By the way, I don't know if I said this out loud or just thought it in my head. We have brought in Carter Freeman for his expertise on this. Because as I've said many times, Carter Freeman knows more about college football than I know about anything.
And you talk toxic college football.
Oh,
That's probably why I like it so much.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Top 20, Percy Harvin.
I will say, I think that's a little low. I thought, but the rest of this list has got to be pretty jam-packed. I just thought Percy Harvin was an electric player in college.
Okay, and I have to admit, I thought the next one was kind of low. This is RG3.
And that's probably just because of just the one Heisman season.
Yeah.
He was good the several years before where he played, but obviously it's that one single season where he was unstoppable.
Absolutely.
I remember in those games that Baylor went 9-3 in the regular season. In the 3 games they lost, he was still putting up 400, 500 yards of total offense in each game. He was not the reason they lost those games.
And so I kind of thought of him as equivalent to somebody who's going to be on the list later in Cam Newton. In both had the one unstoppable season. Obviously, Cam Newton took lesser players. He might have taken the weakest roster in history to a national championship. So
the other thing, too, is don't get caught up in what these people's pro careers turned out to be. Their college careers, like there are plenty of college players that were exceptional at that level.
Yes, absolutely. So Percy Harvin 20, then RG3, Darren Sproles, Christian McCaffrey.
Stop. This is where I have a big problem.
Okay.
Christian McCaffrey should have won the Heisman in 2015. If he played anywhere east of Stanford, he would have won it. And that's not to say Derrick Henry didn't have a fantastic season that year. Christian McCaffrey was the special teams ace, and he was the best offensive player in the country that year.
Yeah.
Just because nobody stayed up late to watch his games. But even here in this article, it says he still holds the NCAA single season record for all-purpose yards, almost 4,000 all-purpose yards by himself.
Golly.
And he didn't win the Heisman.
Dang.
And he was great the next year, too. Like, he is an easy top 10 option. I cannot believe he is at 17.
Okay.
And somebody just said this, too, from the 214. Bro, that whole decade of college football was insane. Yes, we did have a golden era of college football.
So true. Now, what I want you guys to consider, whether you're listening at home, if you want to jump in on the conversation on the Twitch, YouTube, or Franklin Injury Attorney text line, kind of like the draft lottery. If you have somebody you want to elevate into the top 10, be prepared to tell me who you're ejecting from the top 10 to make it happen. Number 16, Michael Crabtree. Look, he has that catch that will live in my mind until the end of time.
The one against Texas?
Yes.
It was amazing.
And it was like, Texas Tech is going to be the number 1 team in the country. What is happening? It only took the next week to restore the natural order, but Number 15, Saquon Barkley.
He was exceptional in college.
Devin Hester, Kyler Murray, Pat White at 12.
Dude, I forgot about Pat White and how fun he was.
Him and Steve Slayton, that was the 2007 West Virginia team, was, a 13-9 loss from Pitt away from playing for a national title. And we were this close to West Virginia versus Missouri to play in the BCS national title game that year. That's how wild 2007 was.
That's the NBA Finals version of what it would have been back then. And then number 11, the Honey Badger. I don't think it can be overstated what a big deal he was in terms of talking about college football.
Was he as good as the hype was around him?
I think so.
He was really good.
Okay.
That 2011 LSU team that played for a national title, good team. They went undefeated in the regular season, but I don't think the talent on that team was quite what it was relative to Tyrann Mathieu.
Okay. I like that. And by the way, if you missed the beginning of the segment, top 25 in the last 25 years from the 214, Tavon Austin, number 10 on the list. Tavon Austin.
Somebody said earlier he should be number 1. So this is already starting to cause some controversy.
So Corey is excited to watch the world burn with the top 5. Devontae Smith at number 9. Darren McFadden.
Run DMC.
At number 8. Yes. Adrian Peterson at number 7. And Travis Hunter at number 6.
That's interesting. Okay. Adrian Peterson, for me, obviously as an OU fan, was must watch on Saturday because what's he going to do next? He's gonna have a long run that everybody expects is going to turn into a touchdown, but he's just going to run through people. Travis Hunter brought Colorado to prominence. I know Dion and Shador had a lot to do with that too, but they were on Fox. Everybody wanted to watch them because they wanted to see what is this Travis Hunter really about, and he delivered every week.
Every week, I went to the TCU Colorado game when they played here several years ago, and he had a interception where it seemed like he went from the middle of the field to the sideline in the blink of an eye and stole the ball from the TCU receiver. And I just remember looking at the fan next to me, who I didn't know, and we were just both like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, what can you do about that? And that was his first game at Colorado, and every single time after that he was able to take the field, yeah, he was absolutely must-watch.
I want to back up just 2 more spots real quick. What if I told you I think Darren McFadden should be higher than Adrian Peterson? And I know somebody said Adrian Peterson should be number 1, but I look at what McFadden did in the return game as well, and then I know some people will say, hey, he threw some touchdown passes too. What if I said I might flip those 2?
What if I say that he rushed for 4,600 yards in his career, and Christian McCaffrey had 4,000 in that one season?
Okay.
Now, look, I was not the biggest college football fan when Darren McFadden was playing, so I don't want to speak too much on the players I didn't watch. But I just think that McCaffrey should be in the top 10 conversation no matter what.
Okay. All right, I like that. From the 817. See, and I think this is where you have to recognize what the list is. Joe Burrow is clearly number 1, and that's not going to be the case. But it's the most dynamic.
Yeah, there's a difference between just great offensive players and ones that are the must-watch.
Yes.
They make the incredible plays year in and year out,
and
right?
I think you're going to see this at number 3. We get to perhaps the most divisive college football player in recent memory.
Although Burrow did demand a lot of attention.
Yeah, no.
In that 1 year.
See, I think he was an excellent player. It's just that's when you use the term dynamic.
Yeah.
I told Corey.
His receivers were dynamic. That's
absolutely.
for sure.
And his running back was too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Somebody just said that Vince Young obviously is going to be number 1 from the 817. Coming in at number 5, Vince Young.
Wow.
I have to admit. But maybe you need to wait until you see the rest of the list.
He was a blast to watch, even as an OU fan. Even as an OU fan, you were like, I know what he is. He's incredible to watch. And that Rose Bowl game, that's the feather in the cap.
Vince Young feels like a top 3 to me, and I would have him ahead of the next person, although I'm sure plenty of people would disagree.
Well, I think he kind of paved the road, like him and I guess Michael Vick wasn't technically a 2000s player.
He was 99.
He was 99. So because I was just thinking, Vince Young and Michael Vick kind of inspired so many of the great dual threat quarterbacks of the 2010s, like Kyler Murray, and then at number 4,
Lamar Jackson. Because I could see Michael Vick being number 1 on the list, but it's top 25 dynamic players of the last 25 years. All right, so number 5, Vince Young. Number 4, Lamar Jackson. Number 3, Johnny Manziel. And this is the reason why the list is the dynamic list.
Okay.
Because there was nobody bigger in college football his freshman season, or his redshirt freshman season. And then obviously, to a certain extent, his sophomore season, than Johnny Manziel. I'm not saying he's the best by any means, though obviously he did very well. But he was must-watch TV for a variety of reasons, and then he continued to be must-watch TV for different reasons.
Yeah, mostly poor reasons after that freshman season. But both him and Lamar were better their next year than they were the year they won the Heisman.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, it's fatigue. You don't want to vote for the same person again. The only person to win the Heisman twice is Archie Griffin in the 70s for Ohio State, but both of them easily could have won because they got better their next season. I'll never forget that 2013 Alabama-Texas A&M game where that was a national Bama didn't win. They were the defending champions. And Manziel went piece for piece with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe 49-42 was the final.
And then throw to Mike Evans. And I was like, oh, my God, we're going to figure out how to win this.
He had several in that game.
There was one down the right sideline, I think, that cut the score to 1 or 1 touchdown. I was like, oh, my God, we're going to figure this out.
But then in Manziel's final game against Duke, and I think it was the Belk Bowl at the time, they were down big. And Manziel was like, no, we're winning this game. I'm willing us to win this game. So there's just so many moments with him and with Lamar, too.
On the sideline, yelling at everybody and those lines. We're winning this game. I'm telling you right now, we're going to do it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to text in something dumb, we're going to point it out. The 817, typical A&M fan putting Manziel over Vince Young. I don't know if that is in reference to me or if it's in reference to Brad Crawford, who's the person who wrote the list.
Well, if you rearrange the letters in Brad Crawford, it spells Kevin Hageland.
No, it doesn't.
Clearly.
And if you didn't hear me just say, I didn't know about that at Vince Young, I would have him in the top 3.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to tell you.
Would you have him ahead of Manziel in the top 3?
I might. I think I might.
Okay.
Johnny Manziel, number 3. And that leaves 2 people left. So it's Cam Newton and it's Reggie Bush. Going off the definition, who would you put at number 1? Because I have no problem with who number 1 is.
I don't think Reggie Bush is 1. And then I go back and remember all the highlights. Every single Sunday morning, and then Monday morning too, there was 1 or 2 plays that Reggie Bush just broke off for 35 yards or 100 yards. Like, it was every time you looked up, Matt Leinart was like, I just give it to Reggie Bush. And so I think Reggie Bush, as great as Cam Newton was, he was an exceptional college quarterback. Reggie Bush was exciting on another level.
Carter, who would you put? Because I think Cam Newton, look, I will argue this forever. I'm not saying that team.
I probably would have Vince 1, though.
Okay.
And then Reggie Bush 2.
Okay.
That would just probably be me.
So I still think the Joe Burrow LSU team might have been the best, modern college football team I've seen. I think Cam Newton did more with less than any player in modern college football history, but he's second. And then Reggie Bush is number 1. What say you?
I like that Reggie Bush is 1 because we got to see it for multiple seasons. Yep. I think that's what would tip the scales for me, is that Cam Newton had one incredible year, one of the most incredible single seasons in college football we will ever see. But Bush did it year in and year out when the Pac-10 at the time was still a very, very good conference. And so to see him do everything he did and come and, win a national title, blow out Oklahoma in the 2004 national title game and then come this close to a second one in a row.
Yes.
I know Leinart was good. I know those teams were phenomenal, but Reggie Bush was the heart of a USC team that just dominated for years. And he was the reason for it. He was a lot of the reason for it. So I don't have a problem with Bush being number 1.
With a lot of the people in the fan text, I am a little confused as to why Tim Tebow isn't on there. He's top 25. I'm a little confused.
Just like Kevin said earlier, this is a dynamic players list, not just the best players list.
He could run, he could throw, he was dynamic championships. He was everything. Now, obviously, the pro career did not turn out, but in college, that dude was exceptional.
But that is the overwhelming. There are some people, Colt Brennan and
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, but Tim Tebow is everywhere on the fan text. That seems to be the biggest one that they think is missing from the list. Is there anybody that y'all thought otherwise was missing from the list? Because the question always comes up, well, who would you bump from the list then? But was there anybody on the list that you were like, I kind of think that player got jobbed?
Strong list for me and Kevin. Aside from Tebow, strong list brings back a lot of fun college football watching memories for me.
I can think of a couple running backs. Derrick Henry we mentioned earlier, even though McCaffrey was better. The LSU back who went to Jacksonville, and I cannot think of his Leonard Fournette.
Yes.
Leonard Fournette was fantastic in college too. So there are players that you could, but that's the fun of these lists is it's more fun to just go down memory lane and remember all these really good players. I didn't realize Michael Crabtree had almost 2,000 yards as a freshman. That is nutty.
Freaking believable.